Welcome to TRF Tuesday, our weekly mini workshop series from Bright Voices in Therapeutic Embodiment. If you're watching us on YouTube, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It's the best way to let YouTube know that you find this content valuable and to show it to more people. Take it away.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for joining us. I'm Stefan, co-founder with Dawn Stern, my wife, she'll introduce herself, and Dr. Alicia Ali at NYU Steinhardt.
I'm Dawn Stern, COO and fellow practitioner.
And today we're going to build on this, because we're going to give you a taste of what we go through with the veterans. So some of the comments from last week, for example, some said, yep, the pace was perfect, and a few said it was fairly slow. Those are valuable. Continue to let us know, because it's important. It's an important part of the process for you. For us, we do go slow. We're aware of it. We actually are breaking it down so far to observe the body without judgment. And for many of us, that's a really challenging thing. And I'll expand on that some more. But I am going to take a moment right now to build that we're going to use the rest of the class, and as well as next week in the remaining couple of classes that we have. Observe your body right now in space. And when I said observe your body, observe if you had an impulse to change the way your body was organized. Perhaps you were sitting down and you sat up suddenly because you recall all the teachers saying sit up straight, or a parent or a guardian or some such. Observe if you didn't have that impulse. Again, we're just honing and or turning on that ability to observe our body without judgment. Observe where your sternum is located. Is it pointing in towards your intestines and your stomach? Is it up and out towards the ceiling? Is it out towards the wall? Just observe where it is. Is it turning towards the side? Observe where it wants to go, where when we're in a certain state, whether it's on a webinar or in an interview or talking to someone on the street, where does my sternum go? This is part of what we mean by observing our body without judgment. Sternum and jaw today. Now observe your jaw. You can follow Dawn's guidance if you want. You can observe just with your mind's eye, or you can physically make contact. The contact Dawn is making, I want to make sure everyone you can see it, but also be aware that she's using what we prefer to call compassionate touch. So sometimes we'll say, make contact with your jaw, and the veterans will get in there and grinding. We're looking for compassionate touch. We're looking for awareness. We're looking for you to either use your imagination, your physical hand, or sound and or breath. You can send sound to your sternum. You can send sound to your jaw even, or to any part of your body. Yeah. And observe all of that. Where does it go? Where does it want to go? And when does it do that? With DE-CRUIT, a big part of observing our body without judgment comes from two important factors. The fact that we began with, I'm a veteran, we began with veterans, and something that the military was somehow able to do was bring people together from all different abilities, backgrounds, physical shapes and sizes and abilities, and make us very quickly stand in a uniform stance. The way our heels are together, the way our toes are placed, our hands closed. If you've seen my show, Cry Havoc, I actually go over this, the hands on the closed but not clenched in a fist. It's very detail-oriented, and they're very hard on us. Now, throwing out for a moment the extreme stress that they put under us, that's just to make it happen faster. Throw out for a minute the deprivation of food, of comfort, of safety, of sometimes water, of sleep, taking all of that. Yes, that increases it, but ultimately, if you take that away, what they're doing is through routine. They're creating a new routine to teach us how to stand in a new way. So we can model that, because when I got out of the Army, I found theater training doing the same thing. Instead of a rigid position of attention, my feet were apart. What was that like, to have space in between my legs? Instead of a tight hip, ready to go, ready to respond to orders without thought, what was it like to attempt to let it go a bit? Instead of my hands being in a rigid position of attention at my sides, could they hang like a toddler, like when I was a toddler? Instead of my shoulders being tight, can they be just present and hanging from my body? And instead of this clenched jaw, can my jaw be hanging free and dare to be a mouth breather, which is what's needed in theater training? And arcing back to when we're kids, we naturally as children tend to be mouth breathers. But what happens? We're told, breathe with your mouth shut, chew with your mouth closed, use your inside voice. All of these imposing voices that come in our lives and bring that jaw tight. Now, adding to that, the fact that military veterans, according to a Harvard study and Department of Defense study, have much higher ACE scores, adverse childhood experiences. That means we're coming from more unsettled, will be, or significant child events that are less safe. And even though we're born with this toddler body, jaw open, eyes open, absorbing the world, the stresses of our childhood, shall we say, begin to change the way we breathe, begin to change the way we stand, begin to close our jaw. Use a personal example, activation warning. In my childhood, I felt very unsafe. I could be attacked at any moment, so I learned very quickly to bring my shoulders up to protect my jaw. I tended to keep my hand near my face. If I spoke, I tended to have this apologetic, this placement. The military was able to unwire that. But then I'm now wired for this alertness, this respond to orders without thought, respond to a threat with violence. And the theater training brought in these mindfulness practices, taught me how to stand without being in a position of rigidity, taught me to sit without being in defensive posture, taught me to breathe without grabbing breath for some specific event. So that was a lot to say at the beginning, but this is what we're going to keep coming back to the rest of this class and the remaining few classes that we have. So while I was talking, check in with your jaw, check in with your sternum. If you've collapsed in that time, can you bring yourself back up to a position upright where, like a toddler, our spine rises out of our torso? Can your shoulders rest, dangling with distance from your ears? Can your jaw hang free? Can your tongue rest behind your lower teeth? And from here, we're going to do, yawns may happen. Yawns are fabulous in theater. We do not, here we encourage you to let them rip rather than, if you want to stretch, and now that I said it, you may find yourself yawning and stretching. Allow that to be. We have these sympathetic responses. We want that to happen. We want it to happen towards release rather than tension and protection. So from here, we're going to introduce, how am I doing on time? Lovely. We're going to introduce basically Shakespeare's breath and rhythm into your body, which can also be a means to reset from when we're activated. In our work, we say activated rather than triggered, because triggered has an entirely different connotation for military veteran. So when we're activated by sounds, by smells, by temperature changes, by something we see, to be able to observe in our body that we're doing so and reorganize our body. And one of the great ways to do it is breath, the breath, awareness of our breath and how to breathe. The military uses this too. So if it works for them, it can work for us. And what that breath is a iambic pentameter, Shakespeare's Breath. So I'm going to demonstrate first with Dawn. We're going to breathe in all the way, suspend for just a moment, and exhale for 5 heartbeats. Stay empty, breathe in, and exhale for 5 heartbeats. Suspend for a moment, breathe normally. We're going to invite you to join us. One bit of note, you'll notice that we're attempting to keep our jaw hanging free. And when we exhale, Dawn and I in particular are attempting to breathe through relaxed lips. It's not just a, and you can. We are doing a bit of a more of what equines, horses do, more of a. We're going to do 3 of these. Observe what happens for you. It may be more agitating. If it does, we'll find a way to help you de-agitate. It may be relaxing. Most importantly, we want you to observe what you feel and where in your body you feel it. With us, exhale all your breath into the space. Stay empty for just a moment and inhale all the way. Stay full for just a moment and exhale for 5 heartbeats and out. Exhale all the way. And in. Suspend and out. Suspend and in. Last time and out. And relax, or rather let go of that exercise. Yeah, do any wiggling you need to. Check in with your jaw, see if that's changed. Check in with your eyes. If you're lightheaded, observe that. If you're not, observe that. Observe what happened in your neck, in your torso, with your feet. Anything that came up for you. The questions I would love to invite for you are, what do I feel right now? And where in my body do I feel it? Am I able to be specific or generic? Am I able to feel nothing at all? Or am I able to feel something here but not there? All are welcome. Observation without judgment. Observe what you feel. What do you feel?
And I was going to say, and at any point in the exercise. So, for example, I am much more comfortable being empty. When I exhale and stay empty, I feel like I can stay empty for a long time. When I inhale and I'm full of air, I feel much more agitated. Beautiful. I want to release the air.
Beautiful.
It's not as comfortable for me.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Great point, too, by the way, to observe at different points of this exercise what's creeping in. Also valuable, you made me think of this as well. Observe how much you strive or don't strive to get it right. Observe in yourself what happens if you're off of our rhythm. Observe what happens if you have more air. What thoughts creep up for you? Feelings is what we're going for, but we know that we're having all of these thoughts as well, right? For those of us, in our particular case, and I'm not divulging any information because she shares this publicly, we were raised by, we each had an alcoholic parent, and that was such an uncertain world that it would affect our breath. We observed that in our childhood, and when we met as adults and we were finding that theater was helping us release some of that, to observe that, oh my God, I've carried that all the way from childhood, that when something feels uncertain, I tense up. When I don't get something exactly right, what the director wanted, or an exercise, or a piece of text exactly right, that tension could creep in. And what theater gave us the permission to do was both make a mistake and observe ourselves to let go of that, to realize that mistakes are information. Emotions and mistakes in theater are valuable information. And let me put bunny ears around mistakes. That's why we very often say from the theater world, dare to suck or dare to mess it up. Dare to try something that might not work because it feels like life or death, but it isn't. As opposed to my old job in the Army where it was life or death, or compared to our childhoods where it felt like life or death. And compare that for your own experience, for anyone who's watching right now. Observe what you feel in your body, where in your body you feel that, when else in your life you feel it, and if you are able, when is the earliest in your life you have felt that or had this sensation. All of this wraps around with Bessel's book, The Body Keeps the Score. He talks about all of this in there. He shows the CT scans, right, of the brain that has dissociated. This is a version of that. Someone who's dissociated, generally speaking, is unable to feel their body or be aware that they even have one. So what we're doing is don't have the brain scan. We're asking you on your own, be your own brain scan. Observe your body. The mere act of observing your body can turn on those somatic sensory regions. The mere act of breathing in can either activate or deactivate our limbic system. Observe for me what that is. And by limbic system, for anyone who doesn't know, we're talking about our centers that are involved in our fight, flight, freeze, fawn, or other. By the way, we use all of those so that we don't judge our fight or flight response. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn, other. Whatever is your survival mechanism, what does it do? What posture does it do? What breath does it cause? Do I need it right now? Look around the room. No, I don't. I'm in the dressing room at Theater Row rehearsing a play with Dawn. Allow the breath to come in and even introduce the rhythm. We're going to now do it with sound and then add text. We apologize for if you can hear any talking in the background. We're literally in the middle of tech rehearsals outside this door. So thank you in advance for allowing that to be allowing us to join you from this location. So now I'm going to share on screen 2 lines of Shakespeare's text. And we're going to do what we just did, but on Shakespeare's text. We're going to breathe in, and on the exhale, we're going to say this first line. If everyone looks, you can see, in fact, let me do this, that even though it's one sentence, it's broken up into 2 lines. Shakespeare wrote in a verse, and he, as we talked about last week, he wrote in a verse that our body already identifies, and he wrote in basically box breath. He wrote in a rhythm that allows us to feel things fully for a single line, breathe in, reset, move to the next thought and feeling. Whereas as Bessel, I'm actually going to stop share and share this from you from Bessel's book that he says on page 17 of Bessel's book. He talks about, Dawn, do you mind reading that for us?
We learned from these Rorschach tests that traumatized people have a tendency to superimpose their trauma on everything around them and have trouble deciphering whatever is going on around them. We also learned that trauma affects the imagination, lost the capacity to let their minds play, not displaying the mental flexibility that is the hallmark of imagination. They simply kept replaying an old reel.
Perfect.
That's
Thank
page
you, Dawn.
17 from The Body Keeps the Score.
Yeah. So he's describing what we're also, I would argue, what we're also describing. We're observing it in a different way. We're observing our body in time and space now. That alone can sometimes turn on those somatic sensory regions. Interrupting our old way of breathing interrupts that old reel that he's talking about. Observing ourselves without judgment can help us pull out of the myopic experience of re-experiencing the trauma. Instead, observe my body to say, oh, I'm holding my breath, or my shoulders are coming up to my ears, or my jaw is clenching. Yeah? So, with all of that, we're going to go back and give you a tool, with the time remaining, of a few lines of Shakespeare that we think are not only lovely and wonderful mantras, but are a literal version of releasing things in the body. So the lines are, I'm going to read it first just for you so you can hear it. What we'd like you to practice on your own, something along these lines, where we breathe in, and then we say the first line, no more be grieved at that which thou hast done. That's it. Breathe in for the next line. Roses have thorns and silver fountains mud. If you have extra air, release it. Then go back and do it again. What I'm going to do is have Dawn do it 2 times for you. You can do this on your own, especially if you're taping it, or you can do it with Dawn. Off you go, Dawn. I'm going to invite you to ground, breathe, check in with your body, take up the time and space you need to do this. And when you feel ready, breathe in, speak the first line of text, and then breathe in for the second line. Off you go.
No more be grieved at that which thou hast done. Roses have thorns and silver fountains mud.
Wonderful. If you have any part of your body that's drawing your hand or drawing your attention, perhaps lovely. Perhaps bring some awareness to that. Breathe in and send some sound to those parts of your body. Yeah. Give them some attention, some compassion. They've been protecting you your whole life, and they're speaking up now. Keep in contact with that. Will you do the exercise one more time, 2 times through, breathing in before each new line, sending sound into those places your hands are.
No more be grieved at that which thou hast done. Roses have thorns and silver fountains mud.
Beautiful. One more time.
No more be grieved at that which thou hast done. Roses have thorns and silver fountains mud.
Beautiful. Release your hands, release your arms, release your jaw. And if you would you do what we call in theater the horse lips just a couple times? Beautiful. Yeah. What came up for you doing that, if anything?
the word grieved and an activation in my heart, where my heart is, and a little bit the top of my stomach, where I know myself. When I grieve, those 2 points are activated. Yeah, I have heat.
Beautiful.
I usually have heat there. Beautiful. When I'm.
Beautiful.
So.
Thank you for demonstrating. Is it all right if I turn
Yes.
back? Wonderful. So you do that on your own, versions of your own. Dare to try something different. So if you do this, if something else is more interesting to you than what we've offered, follow that impulse. That's the beauty of theater, is taking Dawn's version and changing it entirely for yourself. But do follow the impulse of this part of my body's calling me, and bringing sound to that, bringing vibration, perhaps even a compassionate touch. If you have hands, if you don't, know that you can simply, I can stop sharing. Thank you. I know that simply bringing awareness to that part of her body can activate that. A lot of this is covered in not only Bessel's book about the body keeps the score, where he examines the brain, but Stephen Porges' book, Polyvagal Theory. Because and this is my last bit. I know I'm rushing a bit, so thank you and bear with me. Thank you. A great modeling of consent. It makes the space feel safer. Thank you. Yeah, that's always, we invite people to do their own contact rather than with each other, especially of the last few years. But the last thing I wanted to say on this, before we take questions, if there's time, is with what we know from polyvagal theory, is that the vagus nerve connects from that limbic system to our throat, our voice box. It connects to our stomach, our heart, our lungs, our guts, our liver. So all of those things, our digestive system can go offline or get overly active. What we know, like pre-show, different actors have different versions. When their vagus nerve is kicking in pre-show with those pre-show nerves, some lose control and some have everything shut down. This is why theater is a great, dare I say, laboratory to experiment with observing my body when it's in distress, observing my body when conditions are heightened. And then Shakespeare's heightened language helps not only give us a template of how to breathe and break that old reel, but also to bring sound to our body in places that we may have been deadening off in order to survive. Or perhaps at places been dysregulated the other way, where it releases so much, but now we can purge that. I think of Lear when he loses his daughter Cordelia, whom he's wronged. And in the first 2 words that Shakespeare gives him, when she has passed, spoiler alert, she passes, Lear comes in carrying her and says, "Howl, howl," before he says anything more. You are men of stone. So to release these is what the power of theater can be. To release the things we've been carrying privately, secretly. So with all of that, thank you. Anything that you want to add, Dawn?
No, I just wanted to add that these check-ins and any exercises, especially around text, where we are giving and inviting the instruction of breathing in, releasing text on the exhale, breathing in before each line, releasing text on the exhale. Mm-hmm. The reason, obviously observation is important for a myriad of reasons, but one of the things that we noticed right away is that people often, many, many times, aren't aware or aren't observing what they're doing. Yeah. So they believe that they are fine, or, but it's not that they're not. Their coping mechanisms made them fine. I understand, but they believe that they are breathing, right? So they're like, yes, I know how to breathe, and next exercise, and right. The more right, you just start to observe who is breathing how. Who is holding where is the voice starting to shake? Where are they running out of air? Yeah. What kind of breathing is happening? Are they rushing to the punctuation like good students and just doing 4 lines with taking in no breath, even though the exercise was to breathe in? Is it comfortable to break the sentence and take a breath for them, or is it distressing?
Yeah. Perfect point.
Are they apologizing with their body? All of those observations are not only significant for them, we're inviting them to observe themselves, but you as practitioners, obviously, where the sternum is set, where the shoulders are set, how they're holding. Are they holding breath? Do they think they're breathing but holding breath? All of those things are so very significant, and really, it's just a shorthand for us in the room that are holding space, right. To know where people are and where they may need extra support, because you're already seeing it by observing them and what their body and breath is doing in these tiny exercises of saying one or two.
And the tiny exercises show us everything. I think I know we're nearly at time, or maybe, but I love what you mentioned. So I think that we can demonstrate some of the things that we see of what you're talking about, to be able to observe, because obviously I put up the text again. School, however many years you went to school, makes you want to go to the punctuation. So obviously, the first thing that people want to do is say, "No more be grieved at that which thou hast done. Roses have thorns and silver fountains mud." However, our poet wrote it with a break there. "No more be grieved at that which thou hast done." There's more there. What is it like to have more to say, but to take up the time and space you need, as Dawn mentioned, to actually, and the audacity to breathe in, to finish the thought. Roses have thorns and silver fountains mud. And something we'll often see is this as well, where we'll say breathe in before each new line. So we'll see, "No more be grieved at that which thou hast done. Roses have thorns and silver fountains mud." Now, it's not wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. We're not upset. We don't shame. We merely ask, are you aware that you're inhaling and then exhaling? Because we might not have that awareness, which you so perfectly described. One more quick thing I'll offer is, when we brought in that jaw, we mentioned it. Something that very often will happen is, "No more be grieved at that which thou hast done. Roses have thorns and silver fountain mud." And observe for yourself on your own. Practice these things. Practice just with these two lines. What is it like to do it with a clenched jaw? What is it like to do it with "No more be grieved at that which thou hast done"? Too open of a jaw. It's a play. So dare to play with some text. Dare to, because as Dawn read with Bessel's quote, our imagination, when we've had to survive adverse childhood experiences or adult trauma, that gets diminished. We know this. So the mere act of daring to play with some text by opening too much or clenching too much or playing whatever you want to do, that gets diminished. So the mere act of doing that, you're fighting back against the trauma that you've survived. You're helping to disrupt your old wiring and begin new wiring. With all of that, I think we're probably at time. Yes, I see Mary there. Thank you all. And there's more. Next week, by the way, we would love people to join us, because you're going to be reading text. That's going to be the main thing for next week, of people reading text.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. And thanks to everyone for joining us. Huge thanks to Stefan and Dawn for taking time out of their very busy schedule this summer. We'll see you all next week at the same time. And until then, be well and goodbye for now.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.
Take care.